Hello everyone, welcome back to theCUBE here at the NYSE. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE. This is the third day of our media week. We talk about cyber, AI innovation, and again, as part of our ongoing East Coast, West Coast collaboration, obviously theCUBE in Silicon Valley and theCUBE here on the East Coast, partnering with the NYSE and the Wired community with Brian Bauman and the team. It's been really taking off. We'll be here up and running more full-time in 2025. Amit Sinha here, the CEO of DigiCert, CUBE alumni. Amit, great to see you. Thanks for coming on. Not a bad background here.
John, thank you for having me. This is an awesome background, and you're all over the place. Palo Alto, and now here in NYSE. It's exciting.
I love my Palo Alto studio. The big TVs, get the screens there. But this is just a nice place. But I love the connecting Silicon Valley. It's been interesting. We've been, this open source concept of our content, obviously NYSE with their open source philosophy of collaboration. We've created this wired network, that's what Brian Bauman calls it. It validates our mission of open source content because now every interview we do in this network is a node. Yeah. And the node on the network is out on the open. And we want it to be an open free marketplace of ideas.
That's awesome, really keep up the great work.
I really appreciate you coming on and sharing. You do such great work in an area that is not only technical, it's got business transformation challenges, it's super important from a security protection standpoint, and you got a little bit of cryptography thrown in there with quantum.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you kind of got like the perfect ingredients I call technology intoxication. You can get drunk on all that technology. Yeah. I mean, that's how good it is.
And we're trying to simplify it that people can consume and value it too.
Don't drink too much of that quantum. It's like, it's potent. All kidding aside, you're in a very hot area in the sense there's a lot going on. Super things are happening faster, accelerated. Some are developing and baking out like quantum. Take a step back and let's get into it. We've been on theCUBE 2 times, August and then previously April. You guys were really getting ready for the quantum day, quantum readiness day as you guys called it, as quantum and the standards continue to power through, which is a critical role. We talked at length about that last time, the role of standards. Now, on the other end of the spectrum in the AI world, there are no standards. It's a free-for-all, right? But data is critical. Now, identity is the #1 target for hackers. I mean, all they got to do is hit the bullseye once, get credentials, they're in. You're playing around in all those areas. What's the current state of the art? What's the current situation, I should say? Maybe is there a state of the art?
Yeah, no, first thank you again for having me, John. Always exciting to talk to you. You get all of this and our conversations are always interesting. So just taking a step back, since I last spoke to you, DigiCert's doing extremely well. We closed our Furrier acquisition. So now we serve 20% of the authoritative DNS queries in the world. And we'll get shortly into how DNS and SSL are just electricity and water for our digital lives. What's new? Well, I was at Gartner Identity and Access Management conference earlier this week, and kind of the burning topic there was machine identities, right?
Non-human.
Non-human identities, and here's the kicker: for every one human identity that a business has, John or Amit, there's like 50 machine identities, and the 2 big problems businesses are grappling with, one is the cost of managing the life cycle of these identities, and number 2, resilience, because these identities are getting shorter and shorter, and when they expire, critical services are down. So kind of the 2 big topics were, hey, help me reduce cost, get me more resilience on my identity fabric, on this whole digital trust infrastructure. And DigiCert's been working actively with our customers. We have our DigiCert One platform in the cloud. And what that does is it just simplifies the management of all your digital identities like certificates, all the way from discovery to policy and governance to full automation. It's cutting cost, eliminating outages, all the stuff that you'd expect.
I definitely would like to have you guys participate in our survey. One of our leading analysts, Christoph Bertrand on the CUBE research side, I don't know if you know Christoph, he's just recently joined our team this past year. We're doing a whole survey on cyber resilience, and we've talked about this in the past. You addressed this head on. It's the most important critical issue. And there is no resilience yet in Gen AI, but there is major progress on that. So we got a survey coming up, an event in March of next year, We're going to have a big industry kind of digital conference, so we definitely want to have you guys participate in that. Because here's the problem, and here's the question. Customers don't know who to believe. And not vendors, who to believe in terms of what's real and what's not, where should they focus their priorities. Resilience is the framework that will set the standard for all applications. So not just data, but data's in all applications. So the Gen AI is on a collision course with the identity and resilience piece that you're in, because Gen AI is just another application. You ask all the experts, that's the constant theme. Oh yeah, well there's some hyperbole in there. Oh, it's going to change the world, okay, humanity, okay, AGI, okay, put that aside. To the IT departments, to the major platform players and the companies, it's AppSec review. What's the resilience framework? You talk to anyone who's got chops, they go, I'm going to treat Gen AI like every other app. Well, guess what? Data's involved, so you're doing resilience. You're in the middle of that. How is that coming together? What is the keys to success to scale resilience up to the Gen AI layer?
Yeah, I mean, funny you bring Gen AI resilience. I mean, I have kids in college, and I got a text from my daughter saying I couldn't do my homework because ChatGPT apparently was down today.
Yesterday,
right?
yesterday, I saw
yesterday.
that.
and
Perplexity was up. Anthropic did well.
Look, every time I talk to CISOs and CIOs, and I ask them, what do you care deeply about? Resilience comes up, right? If you ask them, how many times were you summoned to the boardroom because something was down, all hands go up. In fact, even Elon Musk last year had tweeted the entire Starlink was down because of an expired digital certificate. So look, security is very important, but if your service is down, that's kind of like a dagger through your heart, right? So here's what we're doing. I mean, DigiCert was in the business of issuing you digital identities, right? So, we are at NYSE. NYSE is a DigiCert customer. So step one, when you go and type nysc.com, how does your browser or your app find the right server? And that system, the DNS system, has to be resilient. Once I get to once I get to that web server, how do I know that it's the real one and not a fake one? So that's where digital certificates and identities come in. Once I connect to that, how do I make sure that my communication is secure and private? And all of this has to be on all the time, right? If a cert expires on nysc.com, is it automatically updated without any downtime? So these are the kind of problems that are very central to what DigiCert is solving for our customers, and not just for internet-facing websites, but also the internal problem, right?
So is NYSE a customer?
They are, yes.
That's a good customer. They're tough. They have a high bar.
Yeah, and you can go to NYSE and click on the little lock icon and look at how that website is secured, and you'll see a DigiCert certificate.
And so you guys are really cracking the code on the infrastructure side of making stuff resolve.
Right, like how do I make sure I get to the resource I want reliably? Once I connect, how do I make sure that it's the authentic resource and my communication is secure? And that's happening not just on the public side, it's happening on the private side. Private apps, cloud, software.
And I think your point about the digital certificate is something so small and seems trivial, super important, obviously. That's the identity. Okay, but that could go wrong.
You
got to manage
all
it
the time.
all the time. I hate the emails I get. Your certificate's expired.
I mean, and look, the issue here is that if you look at any sizable organization, they'll have hundreds of thousands of these cryptographic identities. So it's a here and now problem. And you mentioned quantum. The challenge with quantum is that this entire identity fabric has to go through a full upgrade. It's like a once in a 30-year upgrade cycle, because the foundational algorithms that were behind the current state of cryptography is changing. I don't know whether you caught it this week. Google announced their Willow quantum chip, and get this, it was able to do a computation in under 5 minutes that would have taken the world's fastest supercomputer more than the life of the universe. Right?
And you think about how the high performance computing business has changed so fast. Supercomputing has been democratized. So more connections are coming. So your solution is going to be even more in need.
Yeah, I mean,
endpoints, this application, machine to machine. So talk about the non-human identities, because this has come up a lot. You mentioned the Gartner conference. We're hearing this to be a
big problem.
A big problem as the sprawl of machines to run the Gen AI.
Yeah, everything. I mean, the non-human identity spans your classic user laptops, devices, servers, cloud workload, but now to agents,
Yeah.
AI agents. What are they? The non-human identities, right? Software, building blocks, OT devices, critical infrastructure devices. Just the number of IoT devices in your personal lives, it will be 10 times more than humans. So it's not unusual to have 50 times more non-human identities within an enterprise than human ones. All of them have to be managed, and that's a big problem.
Amit, I was talking with a developer, entrepreneur, and they were talking about how in the development world, people share credentials to help each other all the time, tokens, maybe even passwords, because they share passwords. But tokens can be hacked and get full access to databases.
All right.
Major information leakage, big time. So this is one small example of the machine-to-machine vulnerabilities out there. What's the solution? I mean, how do you guys solve that problem? It's come up a lot. And first of all, scope the problem. How big is it? And then how do you guys solve it?
As I said, look, just the sheer number of machines and non-human identities is massive. And there isn't one size that fits all. The identities in a Kubernetes cloud infrastructure might be different from a AI agent that you might have. The identity for your software that you download is slightly different. So what DigiCert's trying to do is we have our DigiCert One platform that is providing PKI as a service. PKI is public key infrastructure. Yep. And we are enabling these workflows that allows you to manage identities across machines, across software, across devices, across content, across infrastructure, right? The identity on a F5 load balancer might be different from the identity on the latest LLM that you have packaged and you're trying to ship out, right? So, but foundationally, the math behind it is all the same, right? Yeah. It's like here's a private key, here's a public key. You need to secure the private key, and then you need to enable integrations that allow me to manage these identities. So if I'm talking about cloud infrastructure, I might need, an Ansible plugin or some Salt plugin. But if I'm talking about my software supply chain, I might need a Jenkins plugin or a GitHub access. So it's about providing centralized governance for your entire identity fabric with decentralized issuance, ability to enable workflows, produce audit reports, all the things that you'd expect to run a massive infrastructure like this.
Well, I mean, this is why I like the PKI as a service. Talk about your business model right now. How's business going? Give an update on key milestones. Can you share specifics of the momentum?
Yeah, we're on track to become $1 billion in annual recurring revenue. We are, we're tracking, and with
that's $1 billion in ARR.
In annual recurring revenue.
That's pretty big.
And it's big. And we
explain why that's big versus someone saying I'm a $10 billion company, because you get it every year.
Yeah. Look, annual recurring revenue first shows that you're a durable SaaS business, right? You're not. You have subscribers that are that value your service.
They have the subscriptions.
And they have the subscription. So that's number one. The other thing I wanted to highlight was, we're tracking to get to about a rule of 60 company. So, profitability plus growth rates, getting closer to 60, which is kind of rarefied air for a lot of businesses. In terms of sort of overall momentum, AI and quantum are two big tailwinds that are helping us grow the business. 90% of Fortune 500 are already DigiCert customers from PKI and DNS. This is, I call it electricity and water, right, for your digital trust. And then we're leveraging those relationships to expand the business, offer more value to customers. We talked about managing all these machine identities. With AI, we are working with standards bodies like the Content Provenance Initiative. I was at the San Francisco Press Club, and kind of the burning question there was, how do we know what's real and what's fake? And here's what I think is going to happen. In a few years, if not already, by default, you're going to assume all media is fake.
Yeah, exactly,
right? And Back in the day when you had the internet, you saw a little lock icon on your Bank of America, you're like, oh, that's a trusty website. Now, if you go to email, you go to Gmail, there's PKI-based standards now where you can see the logo of the company and you can see a blue check mark, and that gives you a higher assurance that it's not a phishing email. I think the same thing is going to happen with media. You're going to
CUBE
get
approved.
CUBE approved.
Yes.
John is CUBE will have a digital certificate. You're going to sign the entire manifest. And even if I get an embedded video in WhatsApp or iMessage, I'll know that it's the authentic
And if
one.
it is tampered or doctored,
it'll
be like Google Docs. Show me the history.
Show me the history.
Little lineage there, right?
Exactly.
Or authenticity. I mean, you're already seeing it now.
Yeah.
The best content. We just saw the last election. I mean, Trump was just here. Authentic. Not necessarily the payload, but the louder. The authenticity. People want podcasts. They want podcasts. They want to see. They want to hear what you say. What do you think? So that's more of a mind, not the soundbite. So you're seeing authenticity, and you're starting to see original content, not recycled hot takes. And our business is hot takes. I see other analysts out there. I mean, they're just like spewing hot takes. I call them warm takes, sometimes cold takes. But high frequency insight. So insight, authenticity, trust.
I mean,
this is the bedrock.
That's the bedrock of our business, right?
Yeah, ours too.
And I think here's the kicker. The math exists to do that. It is about embedding that into workflows, right? So we're working with Adobe and Microsoft and these companies. We're also working with camera manufacturers. I mean, I take a picture or a video, I want the original metadata, location, GPS coordinates, duration, format, to be locked in, just like when you get a piece of software from Apple, you know that it's not been tampered with because the entire bill of materials is riding with it along with the digital signature.
Yeah, what's interesting, I like how we're riffing here, I mean, because it's good. If you have the, authentic, original, and trusted. If you nail those foundational principles, Gen AI works for you. Because now you have the trust. So if someone aggregates something like, say, news on our side, or does some low-hanging fruit assembly of non-differentiated lifting of any kind, not just heavy lifting, but any lifting, that's a user experience. If it's trusted. Original, that is real. Authentic means I'm relating to it. You could do anything with Gen AI. Right now everyone's like scared of Gen AI. Oh, that was written by a bot. Well, it depends. And why do you question it? Because you don't trust it.
And look, it's
same with your thing, security.
And look, it's written by a bot, that's great. It's stamped by a bot, but as a consumer, I need to know, the source provenance. I need to know this really came from theCUBE, right? Versus this was a onion mashup, right, of theCUBE, right?
The onion mashups are good, though, by the way. Sometimes I think they're real.
They're real.
Because they're so good. It's like the Daily Show.
Correct.
Yeah, Onion was like a Daily Show. I mean, we don't have a lot of time. We could do a deep dive. We'll get back in Palo Alto, and we do more content, video, editorial. But I do want to ask you, a serious question before we get into the wrap up. You guys are operating at scale. Congratulations on the metrics, by the way, and the momentum. It's obvious why. Your product's needed, it's critical. It seems like a trivial thing, but it needs everywhere. One, your portfolio is expanding, which you're sequencing on your beachhead, but you're operating at scale. And right now, that's a big discussion. You can do well for a while, but scale, you said rarefied air, also scales rarefied air. What are you seeing at scale? We're seeing that with AWS and even NVIDIA. When you operate at scale, you see new things. What are you guys seeing? Talk about the scale dynamic and what you see and learn and what you code back into the solution at scale.
I mean, look, there's no shortcut to success. I'll start there, right? And yes, you can ride on learnings and other people's infrastructure for a while, but to be able to build a system that's at scale, and we've been at this for 20 years, right? So, we know how to secure all these private keys. We know how to manage it. Some of the largest hyperscalers, I won't name names, but you can kind of guess them. All of their digital trust infrastructure around PKI and SSL is managed by us. So we've proven our infrastructure, right, with some of these massive deployments. Some new regulations are coming. For example, Google and Apple are pushing for public certificates from 1 year to go down to, say, 90 days or even 45 days. What does that mean to infrastructure? Suddenly you'll have 8x more of the same, right? Can overnight, can your infrastructure deal with that kind of step up demand? And we're able to do that. We've assembled a good team. We have our battle scars, and as I said, there's no shortcut.
Yeah.
And we've
it's learnings. It's a trajectory.
Exactly, and that's just on the technical side.
Yeah.
But even on the customer side, our Net Promoter Score is 81 because
Yeah.
over time we've figured out how to work with customers, help them through some of these complex issues, and we barely have started to scratch the surface for post-quantum cryptography, which is a wholesale upgrade of this entire infrastructure, right? So I think that requires scale, operational excellence, and sort of proven ability to have done it in the past.
I've been saying on theCUBE, economies of scale are great on trajectory. That's classic competitive strategy, business school 101, but scale is also a barrier to entry, not just on the learnings. The compression, there's no compression album for experience, as Andy Jassy would say, but it's now a barrier to entry. Because you've got your tentacles in so many identity pieces of the organization, you got to love the position, because as you keep learning and adding to your portfolio, DNS today, cryptography tomorrow, identity here for servers and people, I mean,
and
you kind of get a nice position.
I was in New York this last couple of days, met half a dozen banks and other financial institutions, and I mean, these are well-funded organizations, and they're still saying, hey, look, this is complex stuff, and we need an expert who's done this to be able to manage this all for us, and that's the value we're providing.
I think the big learning coming out of this next wave, because of the scale that I'm taking away, is that the old school thinking of, oh, we can just build it internally.
Now that's going away, for sure.
It's going away because two things. One, scale. Number two, the black box that it turns into when the people who built it quit.
And that's a resilience problem. That's an outage problem.
That's an outage, a resilience problem, so nobody wants a black box.
Nobody.
So if you specialize at something really, really good, and do it great, and keep innovating, that's a formula. That's counterintuitive, the old days. Go big or go home, the old venture capital strategy in Silicon Valley. I remember that, like, that is too narrow of a market. Well, not really,
well, I mean,
really. I'm not you guys, but in general.
It's just the market that we play in is $16, $17 billion, easy.
I'm not saying your market, but identity, identity. But what does that even mean, identity? But if you go horizontal,
it's a big deal.
It's a $16 billion market. Amit, thanks for coming on theCUBE, appreciate you.
Always
we went
pleasure.
over, as usual, here with great topics. Again, he's in the sweet spot of multiple technology touch points, identity with security, quantum, and just running all these applications. I'm John Furrier, in the hot seat here at the NYSE, celebrating theCUBE here on the East Coast. Thanks for watching.